What's going on, people? Welcome to Man Knows Football. You're here with myself, Guni, and Younes. A lot has changed since you've been on the live, and a lot of it has been for the worst. But you have been privileged to actually see some open training, may I add, from Chelsea Football Club over at Cobham. So you got to meet a lot of the players. Well, the team basically got to meet the gaffer as well. Must have been a great experience for you, man. Congratulations on that, first and foremost. But big up everybody in the chat that's been waiting. Lateness is greatness, as Matisse says, but I try not to make a habit of it, to be fair. You lot know I'm usually good, so you can blind me this time. You can give me the benefit of the doubt. But people, we're getting closer to 15K, man. So I'm going to be on to the subscribers now. Let's keep hitting that subscribe button. Smash the like button as well. Get us up in that algorithm. If you're watching as well after the stream, make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments as well. This one should be a good stream. Going to ask Younes some questions about that open training session. We're going to also discuss about the whole situation with Chelsea from a domestic point of view, why we're doing so badly in the Premier League, and ultimately the gaffer is going to be at the focal point of this conversation, and also the players as well. Because, you know, Younes, I did watch your video, and it was quite revealing, and it did leave me with a few questions, to be fair. So we're just going to jump straight into it, Younes. Let's just get straight into it. So
let's go.
We'll start with the training session. So to those of you that have just joined, or if you didn't know, Younes was at Cobham last week. He was able to watch open training. And there were a few things that you noticed. You questioned a lot of the intensity levels from some of the players, all except one, actually, in Mason Mount. Fair play to him. He's properly applied himself. And there was criticisms about the gaffer as well. So we're going to start off with the players. So let's start there. So in terms of one of the training sessions you mentioned, there were targets that they had to hit in terms of shooting wise, right?
Yeah. They were all that I saw was shooting drills, basically. So, I mean, they are trying to work on it, but it's not quite working.
It wasn't. Okay, so so in terms of the level of intensity that you saw, from that, it was nowhere near good enough. And in terms of match simulation, it wasn't doing any of that.
No. I mean, as I've said, and I hope I was being honest and I was being as truthful as I can be. You could see, you can go on to Chelsea Unseen and watch it on their channel, because they uploaded clips from that session that I was watching, right?
Yeah.
They uploaded clips from only one of the drills. There were two others, and there was a bit of a fitness session before that they actually started working with the ball. So, they were moving in terms, I think, with a fitness coach. They were doing loads of physical work, cool. And then they moved over to just in front of us with the big goal, and then the two little goals in that goal in each bottom corner. And start shooting drill. And there were 3 shooting drills in total, right? 2 of them involved build up and passing and moving. One was just cross the ball over and shoot. And each time the players were, being taken turns one by one, but each time a ball came in, there were times, and I can say Aubameyang, Havertz, Sterling, Mount, mainly, I would say. And to be fair, Thiago Silva got it and Aspi got it. Maybe once or twice, you could say, between all of those players, where the ball was hit correctly into one of those little goals. Bottom corner. Perfect. Yeah? Perfect shot. Fair play. But more times than not, it was a lot of those players just trying to literally, as I mentioned in my video, just try and tap it in just for the sake of getting the target. Whereas you look at a Mason, for example, and he would try and leather it every single time. I think maybe got it maybe once, if I'm being honest. But apart from that, my issue was that it wasn't accurate enough. The shots were not as clinical as we would like to be, which is exactly what we see during a match day. Yeah. And the overall, not mood, but the comments made by Potter's staff, because again, it wasn't Potter. Potter was not even with his staff watching on the sideline. He was literally by the halfway line of the pitch that they were training on, watching from a distance, walking up and down in the distance. Literally. And his staff were the ones controlling the session. One of his staff in particular, Every time that, even if they were to just tap it in and it would creep into one of those bottom corners, oh, go on, good shot, go on. I'm like, what? Really? If a non-league keeper would walk over and save that if it was a real life situation. And this is the thing, because I understand training, especially at that level, to be how it would be like in a match day situation. You're training to replicate a match scenario, right? And work on it and perfect it. That way, when it comes to a match day, boom, you ain't got issues, or you're doing it correctly. And whenever, or the times that shots were being leathered and going flipping, I'm talking open net, 10 yards out, it's gone completely wide, right? Gallagher took a shot, it hit the sky. I remember that. Nothing said. Nothing said. If, in fact, one, and to be fair to Aspie, I think it was, and it's Aspie. I'm not going to blame him for that because he's not meant to be shooting. But Aspie took a shot and it went flying and he buckled over and everyone started laughing. Fair enough. But for the main men that you expect to see accuracy from, with some sort of degree of power behind the shot, because that's what you want on a match day. When it goes completely wide, or it's a horrific shot, or it misses the target completely, nothing said. Nothing said. They just get on with it, keep going. I'm just like, flipping hell. There's no correction here, nothing. And then the session's over. Potter's not the one to call it end to that drill. I understand that during sessions, managers sometimes like to let their staff take drills because that's good for the coach's development as well. That can happen. But there was not one comment during the entire session. He kept his mouth shut from start to finish. Like, that doesn't sit well with me. With me personally, I've never seen a session like it. So that was my issue. That's where I knew that going into match day, where were the goals going to come from? That's where I got it from, because what I see during a match day, which we all see, was exactly what I saw during the session. It didn't surprise me. So
fair play, man. I mean, before I get on to what I'm gonna say, obviously I've got to read out the super chat. Sean Chris, thank you for the super chat. Hey Younes, love your channel and videos, but your video is now being used by toxic fans and using you as the leader for the toxic agenda. It's sad. Here's what I'll say before I get on to you, Younes. Yeah, I know this is directed to you, but I've got to stick up. I've got to stick up for you a bit here. What Younes says and expresses, like many of us in terms of content creation, is true to what he believes and what he says. What other people do with his content outside of his hands is out of his hands. It's nothing to do with him. Unless you come out with something official from his platform or you see him telling you, right? Don't apply it to them agendas. People will use anything to sort their agenda.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, things get clipped, 10 seconds of a sentence that's taken out of context, you know, explaining something someone's been talking about for 2 minutes prior. You've got to take these things with a pinch of salt. This is just the world that we live in. But Younes, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to answer that for you, but I just
no. You're spot on. Look, that applies to everybody, right? That applies to everyone. Anyone that makes some sort of content. But this is the reality of social media. This is the reality of YouTube. This is the reality of all these platforms. The truth is, everyone has access and is able to provide an opinion.
Exactly.
Right. You cannot control the narrative or what people say or what people post, but you can't. That's why, like, I'm totally, even with people that disagree with me, I'm against trying to just, shine so much light on them. Look at this. It's a disgrace. They should be removed. They should be censored. Like, no, come on. At the end of the day, as long as it's not insulting or offensive to anyone blatantly, then fair enough. Everyone's got an opinion, and if they want to use clips they want to do, I can't stop them. No one can stop them. That's just the reality of it. You just take it on the chin and you move on. That's it.
No, absolutely. And one thing that you've all got to remember is the bottom line is we've all got Chelsea's best interests at heart. So what we say
exactly,
is nothing in malice to the club. It's we want what's best for the club. Now, obviously, just wanted to go back to a few questions that I had. So in terms of the training session, now I've got reasons why I'm asking this. In terms of the training session, was it open to the public or was it more of an invitational only sort of thing?
Invite only.
Could you know off the top of your head how many guests were present?
Yeah. We were all sat basically. There's a little mini stand basically by the pitches, right? I could say total, including I mean, like you could see there was maybe a couple of families. I think there was a charity or something that got invited. So they brought, and I spoke with the lady who was a part of it, and helped running it. And she was in cohesion with some workers of the club or people that are there that work at Cobham.
Yeah.
They brought, I think, like a couple of families. So there was a couple of kids and whatnot as well. Total, I could say 25.
Okay. All right.
It
Fair enough.
was, yeah, I'd say, but it was all invite only. You couldn't get access if you weren't on the list.
Because you see why I had to ask that question is because in open training sessions, right, a lot of the time the intensity is not a full simulation of what you will see behind closed doors. That's what I will say.
No,
But
completely.
there's still intangibles that you need to see regardless. And I'm
Yeah.
disappointed that I'm hearing that the players weren't applying themselves, considering we're struggling also ironically in front of goal, that you don't feel it's necessary to apply yourself whenever you should be. Okay, that's
Yeah.
disappointing. But what I will say is in open training sessions, they only let you see what they want you to see. Like in terms of depth and in terms of intensity and all that, if you're lucky, you'll get that behind closed doors. Now, why I say this is because Graham Potter as well. I'm gonna use this as liking it. He might act a certain way behind closed doors, but might not want to berate his squad out in the open. Now, I get it. There's a difference between berating and criticizing and actually looking at something and seeing there's something visibly wrong with it.
Yeah.
Could it be a thing where he's taken note? Because I mean, I haven't worked at that level, but I've coached before. And I've known coaches who are not very vocal, but once they're there, they're looking and they're remembering and they're going back into the changing room and we're saying to each other, you see this guy here, he needs to work on his shooting strength. This needs to be done better, etc., etc., etc. Could it just be down to his managerial style as to why he's not vocal?
Listen, I honestly think there are managers that are, you could say, fairly quiet, right? That aren't constantly going ape shit at whatever they see or whatever the players do. But what you see during a game, like what we've been watching the past few matches, not one reaction. Like not one. I ain't seen him walk up to actually, I've seen him stand on the touchline multiple times. You can see it on the TV screen as well. But I've not seen him actually, yell out something as a correction or to whatever player in terms of if they're doing something wrong or if they're not in the right position or to move into a certain position or to, track back or go forward. Like, there's nothing. He's just watching. And that's game after game. I gave the benefit of the doubt, to be fair. I felt like when it started to look a little shaky and a little ropey, considering the circumstances as well, we have to be honest, there are injuries and there are things like that, right? But when you see everyone completely out of it and nothing's being said on the touchline to rectify it during the game, because understandably, yes, managers can keep opinions to themselves up until halftime, or they have certain things that they're not going to yell out there, but they're going to take it into the dressing room. Cool. But during a game itself, where things have to happen there and then, there's nothing. I'm not saying personally Potter needs to get out the door right now. No, but give us something, man.
I hear you. No, I hear you. I hear you. In terms of that, I definitely don't disagree with you. Christopher J. Richardson Davis says Tuchel was never quiet. I can understand that, but Ancelotti's not vocal. You see what I'm saying? There's always opposites to the extreme.
But with someone like an Ancelotti, everyone knows it's Ancelotti. He has a command of respect. Like you see him in his earlier days when he was at AC Milan or prior to that. Go and see if he wasn't vocal then. He was, and you can go and see the clips and everything. He was a madman.
Okay, cool, fair enough.
Maybe with age,
maybe not the best example.
But no, I get your point. I get Eddie Howe is quite, normally quite calm.
Mm-hmm.
But when it has to be done, he's there and he's doing what he's got to do, right? And that's necessary, I think, especially in the modern day where games can change. Unlike before, nowadays you're implementing 2 or 3 various different systems, perhaps, or tweaks to a system in the space of maybe 10 to 15 minutes. It can happen. Unlike before, where football maybe wasn't that developed. things have to change, things have to be said, things have to be monitored. Every single angle needs to be covered. That comes from the gaffer. And you can just see, my point, if you could see a few players completely off it and a few players on it, right? Okay, then maybe we've got something to work with. Everyone's off it. Like, everyone is off it. I can maybe look at Lewis Hall as the only one that I can say, no, you know what? He's been given a chance. He took the opportunity. He's 18. I'm going to cut him some slack. But everyone else, you can just see is there's players that look lost. But there's nothing coming to them from the touchline. And that's where the minimum starts. It's the base minimum of how to get these lads going to some sort of capacity needs to start there. Try and find an 11. Another issue is we don't even know what we're trying to do. What system are we playing here? What are we doing? When you see lineups constantly shifting, I saw Nini's video yesterday, and I thought he was absolutely spot on in what he was saying, that things are constantly shifting, things are constantly changing, players are playing everywhere. It's a mess.
Agree.
Players get lost with that.
I agree. And I have to, and you know what? I'm happy you brought that up, because I have to give Nini props for actually mentioning. That's one specific thing there that I really agreed with, is the fact that you've just come into this squad, regardless of whether it's a group of winners or not. You're implementing 3 or 4 systems in one game and expecting these guys to execute. Like, you can't really ask them to do that. They're already playing out of position. Several of the players, they don't understand some of their roles. So you're completely right. Now, look, I'm going to circle back to the manager, and this is more going to be in his defense.
Yeah.
He's come into this whole situation mid-season, early into the season, but after the transfer window. So he hasn't had any authority in terms of picking any sort of players. He hasn't had a pre-season.
Yeah.
He's also got an injury-prone core, which are our key players. Ngolo Kante and Reece James. They're the only 2 world-class players we've got in this team, and they hardly play. That's an issue. We have no backup right back, and we've got no backup player that's even similar to Ngolo Kante, and that is a key to our midfield. Is he looking at this situation right now, after he's been given, like you said, a 5-year contract, 12 million a year, right? That's the number. And is he thinking, this squad here, I have a huge problem motivating them, because we've heard several other managers before. I don't think a lot of them are up to task. I've got to ride this out somehow until January, where I can at least make 1 or 2 key decisions that could make a difference in this squad. And knowing that Reece James and N'Golo Kante are coming back. I'm not saying he's not trying or he's given up, but could it be a case in the back of his head, knowing that he's been given a task to rebuild? And regardless, and I know Chelsea fans are looking at it, we're Chelsea, we shouldn't rebuild. Football doesn't owe you anything, right? And unfortunately, we've come to a time where, I don't like to use that word process like you, we've come to a time where other teams have invested that time into building something sustainable, and you're starting to see the rewards for it. What's making us any different when we're in desperate need of a rebuild? Because I look at Potter and I say, okay, he's made several mistakes. He's going to, right? He's coming to this squad. There's still a lot of assessment that he needs to do. But off the back of the 4-1, getting slapped by Brighton, in my mind, I was thinking, it was a shit show, but it was done by a team that this man built, and with players of less quality, because regardless of the result, man for man, Brighton do not have a better quality squad than us. And I'm sure you can agree, and most of the chat can agree.
Exactly.
So can't we look at this as an indication of, if we are patient and we give this guy better quality than he had at Brighton, with a more competent staff than we've ever had at Chelsea Football Club being built behind him, could we not perhaps see the rewards?
This is the thing. I've seen the Brighton comparison, and personally, I mean, let's have it right. When he was at Brighton, you could see things, and everyone was praising him when he was at Brighton and getting certain results and this, that, and the other at that level. Understandable, right? Them beating us 4-1, I don't think is an indicator to how incredible that Brighton team is. It's also an indicator to how rubbish we were on the day. I mean, you look at their form overall, and Brighton just lost 2-1 to Villa at home. So
That's also true. That's
or
true.
Brentford beat Man City at the Etihad yesterday, so Thomas Frank is absolutely incredible. Do you know what I mean?
I mean,
Like overall, I get what he done at Brighton and I respect it. And this is why when he came in, I was a little bit like, this could go well. But as I said in my first video, when he walked into the job, I said, I hope this job isn't too big for him because it's a different breed, it's a different gravy. And I understand that again, there are circumstances, as you've mentioned, that are going to allow us to understand his full capacity. And I think that's probably going to come in January, right?
Yeah.
Where he gets a window, he probably gets some players back, and then we see what he can actually do with no excuses. But at the same time, I look at this squad and I think you're not all rubbish. You're not all crap. It seems like right now, when we go to whatever 11 we go to, it doesn't work.
Let's talk about the squad, and let's be fair. Oh, hold on. You can hear my kids in the background arguing, I'm sure.
Don't worry, your voice will overpower them. Keep going.
Okay, sorry about that, people.
I did duties.
But yeah, let's talk about the squad. Frank Lampard. This squad has a mentality problem, and there's only so far I can take them. Right? Cool. We said the manager's being a cop-out. He's using this team as a cop-out. He goes. Thomas Tuchel comes in, wins the Champions League with them. Further down the line, I have a mentality issue with this squad. Right? Before that, Maurizio Sarri, I've got a mentality issue with several of the squads. Now, granted, Maurizio Sarri wasn't everybody's favorite manager, regardless of how you felt for him. But that's 3 managers on the trot that have said the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's almost the same seniors that are in this squad.
Yeah. And go on.
At what point do we now look at this squad who have let us down domestically, right?
Yeah.
Because people are going to feel, well, this is a squad that won the Champions League. Listen, as far as I'm concerned right now, take this how you want, clip it or whatever. I don't care about the Champions League. The league, the Prem is your bread and butter, and we haven't won it for 5 years, and we're getting further and further away from it. So this is my concern right now.
Yeah.
All this time they've let us down. Surely we should be looking at this manager. This is where I held Tuchel responsible. This is part of the reason why I wasn't why I was upset with Tuchel.
Yeah.
Look at this squad. You know who the problem is. Address the problem. Why is it taking this long? Because there's several players in this squad that shouldn't be here. Let's have it right.
Yeah, absolutely.
In fact, how many world-class players are in this Chelsea team? There's 2. And what do we both want here? To stop saying, do you know what? City's going to win it. So that means Arsenal are not going to win it, or Liverpool's not going to win it. Oh, I'd rather City win it. I'm tired of saying that.
Yeah.
Me and you want the same goal for Chelsea Football Club, which is to go forward and compete for titles, right?
Yeah.
We are at a stage where we have the potential to do so. Now, people, hear me out, right? This, whether we like it or not, and whatever manager's in place, is stage 1. Stage 1 is it's got to get worse before it gets better. And you know what's potentially saving us? This World Cup. Why? Because it's closer to January where we can actually do something with this squad, ins and outs. It's harsh because I heard you in the video, bruv. You were saying you don't reckon that the man's up for task. I'm saying to you, Younes.
I'm doubting. Yeah.
I'm saying to you, Younes, is it fair to judge him with a squad of shit who several managers have said mentally, squad of shit? Is it fair to judge him with that, although he's picked none of them?
To be fair, this issue that I have, right, going with the points that you've made about the previous managers, I completely agree. I think there are players here that are not good enough, right? Are they total and utter crap? Probably not. But are they good enough? No. Previous managers, though, even Sarri walked through the door. Was I completely on board with what Sarri was doing? I understood what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
Right. That for me needed time. Now, whether we knew at the time Roman and the way that we were running the club and whatnot, time wasn't really a thing, right? But you could see what Sarri was trying to do from day one when he walked through the door.
Absolutely.
Brought in Jorginho, you could see that 4-3-3. You could see exactly what we were trying to stick with and what we were trying to do. We were in that transition of moving from defensive to attacking football for the first time, right? We got it. Some people on board, some people weren't. Fair enough. But everyone understood what was going on. We have Lampard coming after that. And did you understand what he was trying to do the moment he walked in? To an extent, yes. But I feel like later down the line, the fact that his inexperience kicked in was probably the factor. And you can see at Everton now, it's already kicking off now. So there's that. But he brought in circumstances, youth from the youth team, incorporated them, tried to get us to play a more direct but attacking, free-flowing style of football. And from there, build from that. Top 4, cool. Let's try and go on. And then it fell apart because, as I've said, I feel his inexperience kicked in. Immediately with that same squad that a lot of people were criticizing because Lampard wasn't up to task, but even then people were saying some of these players are crap. Tuchel walks in, boom, Champions League win. Do you know what I mean? The quality is there to an extent. It's not perfect. And I feel like there are players that even won that Champions League that probably need to be replaced, but we're not zero. We're not rubbish. Potter walks in. And the minimum to see at this level, I'm not saying that it's got to be perfect or, you know, he has this team, boom, he's got to work miracles. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not even saying he should win anything. But up until the window, I feel like there needs to be some sort of a blueprint here. Something to tell us, what are you doing? I can't recognize what we're doing. That's my issue.
No.
And then I can't see any rectification for any of the mistakes that we're making. And I don't see any mood being lifted. It's everything's just gone flat. Now, if there was mistakes being made, we win a game here, we drop a few points here, but then we go on to win. You know, we're creating chances. Our XG is somewhat around maybe 1 or 2 at least, and not 0.1, right? Something, and there's a pattern, and there's players moving. That's another thing. Players are not moving. Everyone's just static and nothing's being done. If there's that, at least as a base, I can be like, cool, you know what? Look, we can see what he's trying to do. Cool. Let's get to Jan. Let's try and build from there. My doubts are I'm not seeing anything. It's just dead. I don't know what he wants or what he's doing. I don't know. That's my concern. I understand a new manager and a process and whatnot, but I first need to identify what he wants.
It's true.
I don't know what we're doing.
No, it's true. And Potter does need to fix up because even with me, some of his tactical decisions have been unexplainable, have been ludicrous. I mean, just starting off with Nini's point yesterday with the several tactical changes in the game. I didn't agree with the fact that he went with 2 natural wingers as wing backs against his old team. You know, and
it started there.
Yeah, and just several players not starting games. One of them being Zakaria. You know, like I'm not even saying that he's a world beater or whatever, right? Because there's still a lot that remains to be seen. But in terms of the intangibles and the characteristics and the skill set that he has, they're undeniable. And these are things that we missed in, like, for example, Arsenal. How many times are we getting played through that midfield because we've got no presence? How many times have we seen Jorginho chase shadows? It's not even his fault at this point if you're asking him to do it. If you know what his capabilities are, you can't ask him to exceed them. We've seen it several times, and he's getting a year older every season, as are several midfielders. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? And for me, it's a case of Potter's come into a handicap because I think that Tuchel, whatever we know about the transfer window, because there's so many things said Tuchel was involved. These are players he asked for. He didn't ask for them. Players were bought for him or players were bought for whatever it is. Yeah, I don't care anymore. What I can agree is whatever manager was going to start off this season with the crop of players that we had, we're always going to start off with a handicap. Fofana, he's supposed to be in this lineup, injured. Reece James, key player, injured. Ngolo Kante, one of the best midfielders in the world and key to our midfield system. Without him, this is what we're going through. Injured. Thiago Silva, 38 years old, is playing every single game. At some stage, it's either he's going to get fatigued or he's going to get injured. One of these things are going to happen. Look at the teams around us. Yeah, we don't even have a natural number 6 to play to protect it. Well, we do, but we don't use him, actually. It's that bad that I forget he's even here sometimes. Man United, they bought in Casemiro. They look better. Man City, they have Rodri. Man City and Man City. Probably shouldn't use them as an example. Arsenal, with Partey, they're looking better. Reason why I keep bringing up the CDM is because this is a principle of football that you cannot avoid.
Yeah,
it is needed. This manager's been. This is why I cannot fully put the responsibility on him, because one, I trust the players less than I trust the manager domestically. That's number one. Because scraping top 4 every season ain't it for me. I'm tired of that now. We need to start seeing title challenges.
This is the thing. It goes to this point, and this is the point Thomas Tuchel made. If you listen to it, if you listen to that podcast that he went on just a few days ago or something, I'm not sure, a week ago. You know, a process is a process, and we understand that. But in the short term, there has to be
something. There has
to be something, but it can't be lose. I will wait. It can't. It's just what it won't fly. So even why I'm asking for some sort of reaction, at least from the touchline during a game, things to get these players going, at least all of them. Like I said earlier on, if it was just a few that you can see are off and a few that are giving everything, cool. Fair enough. You can identify and you can go, okay, you know what? Maybe these lot here are not cut out for it. When it's everyone, no one's moving, it's static. Players look lost. There's no system. We can't tell what we're trying to do. It's going to result in one way. Whether we want to process or we don't want to process, it's going to go to one way. And I don't want that for his sake, for our sake. I would love for him to find a solution and for him to be able to get something going. And then we understand that there has to be patience if he's doing the bare minimum. If he's doing things that need to be done, cool. We understand that players need to be shifted. We need to get some players that maybe are going to fit his way of playing. We say this all the time. Get the players that are going to fit his way of playing. All right, what's his way of playing? Someone show me, what is his way of playing? That's my point. I mean, and on the back of that, there has to be some level of result, because if people lose faith in that manager based on results, it's done. The squad is lost. That's what people call losing the dressing room. So it's now whether you stick with that. This is where we don't know Todd Boehly. We don't know if he's going to go, I don't care. We'll finish 15th and I'm still keeping him. Well, at that point, we're going to get into territory that we've never been in before. So, and we'll have to wait and see what happens in 2 or 3 seasons.
Okay. What I feel is that we've come to a point that has been coming for a while. Now, I'm not saying 3 losses in a row, or the way in the nature that it's been done, but I think we've been riding our luck a bit, if we're being honest. And here we are. We're facing reality, to be honest with you. Graham Potter needs to understand that coming into a club like Chelsea, where the expectations are high, and I don't expect us to drop them, that you need to get things working fast. That's part of taking on this job, and it's unavoidable. But the fact, my God, Younes, bro. The fact that we've just, like, the takeover, the sacking, the lack of backroom staff up until now, it's a shit show for anybody to really just, I don't know where to start, bro. So it's hard for me because I see it on the pitch.
Completely.
It's like, it's not good enough. I see it from the manager side. It's like, well, I understand the handicap he's got with these players.
Yep.
And, you know, ownership been here 90 days. Manager's been here for about 30. I'm just paraphrasing, paragraphing, you know, just giving an estimate of how long they've been here. But it's not been long.
I agree in terms of the point you just made. And this is where I also look to Todd Boehly and the people in charge now.
Yeah.
Because there's been a couple of confusing decisions at that level, which hasn't helped, won't help any manager, to be fair to Graham Potter. So in terms of getting rid of everyone in one go, we said this when it was happening. We was going, yo, I just hope that, this is going to work out. But when you think about it, to just walk in and just go, all right, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone. Bloody hell. That's mad. And now there's no one to fall back on. Todd Boehly right now is still technically, interim sporting director? And there's no medical director. I mean, we're trying to. Well, we got rid of everyone that was at some sort of level at the club. The transfer window in itself was confusing because, okay, we can look at it from two ways. If you knew that you were going to keep Thomas Tuchel and you got signings for Thomas Tuchel and he was involved, let's say, during that window, and then you start off the season and then you get rid of him 7 games in, right? Was it 7 games? Yeah, 7 games in.
I think it was 5 or
6.
7. Something ridiculous. Between 5 and
6,
7. Anyway.
Somewhere there, right? Yeah. And then you get rid of him, then he's more cutthroat than Roman was, right? But if you get players in and you decide to get rid of Thomas Tuchel because you don't agree on things, and then you turn to a Graham Potter, well, now we know that he wasn't the one that you consulted to go and get those players in the first place. So did you just walk around and just go and get players that you thought were going to be good acquisitions then without actually consulting any manager? So again, bearing in mind, yes, in that aspect, if that's how it was, then okay, to Graham Potter, I can't blame him for that. I looked at Todd Boehly and the people running the club. If they're making those sort of decisions, then do we trust them on who they're appointing in terms of not just manager, but directors and all of that? Like, well, there's loads of uncertainty and loads of question marks. So, in terms of how things are being done, even at that level, you got to question it.
I mean, in terms of who is hiring, behind the scenes, I'm more trusting in terms he's going to get those people right, because the people we've been targeting, the people we've been targeting and looking at, when you look at some of the players that they've helped, cross over to the professional game, you gotta respect it. Do you know what I mean? And if we're getting some of these talents early, using them, and we're able to keep them at the club, I'm all for it. And I'm sure many of you lot are. It's just, we needed this before the first ball of the game was during the summer. Even this needed to be sorted. I don't want to be too harsh and compare the two, but you saw when Abramovich came in, Peter Kenyon came right through the door not long afterwards and took care of everything. That's how it was supposed to be. Yeah. Now, whether that was possible to do in the summer, to us, it looks like it wasn't. But we're getting to a point where it needs to be done at bare minimal before January. That's what needs to happen. I think the ownership have set this guy up for failure. If it ends with him losing his job, I'm going to feel sorry for him, because he's come into this job and he's been set up for failure completely. Well, at least for this first season, completely. That's why, to some, he's out of his depth. I get you. I get it. But for me, I'm just not going to take that stance. What I'm going to do is I'm going to watch how we behave in January and see whether, and listen to what he says about players that he wants. And I'm going to judge once the summer window's closed. Now, if several things are not addressed for me, I'm not going to be happy. First of all, outgoings. We're going to have to take a loss on certain players. And we're going to have to bring in certain players, and they're going to be expensive in case if we miss out on the Champions League, we may have to pay over the odds. I don't want to see no excuses. It's going to have to be done for us to go forward. Now, in terms of the profile of players, that's why I'm going to be looking to the manager and the scouting team. Which profile of player are you bringing into this Chelsea team? Because there's key areas that need to be fixed. They've been neglected for long enough. This is the time to sort it. Are you going to do it? If he doesn't do it, that's when I'm going to say I'm going to have to question whether this guy even knows what he wants for his own philosophy. I've got to keep the energy the same.
This is the thing, right? When it comes to the way that Chelsea have conducted their business for years now, right? Yeah. It's always been reactive, hasn't it? And this has been our problem to an extent. We've not given managers time or chances to get what they needed or what they wanted. Bearing in mind, we knew what they were already capable of. right? And they'd at least through a certain period shown what they're about as managers, right? But then we react, results go a little south, and then we react, and then we've got to just get rid, right? I would love for Chelsea to be proactive and to get a manager in that is identified and that they know, listen, we can see what he's about. We can see what his ideas are. We love it. We want to back it. We want to see where it goes. Let's ride with this. And you have to stick with it. There is an element of risk that comes with that, right? But this is where my point goes back to, if we're looking at a Graham Potter, if we go down the route of, okay, let's see what happens in January, and once he gets some players back, if we don't see some sort of an idea on how we're going to be playing our football, then at that point it's going to turn into a concern. And then he's probably going to get his job, he's going to get fired at some point, right? This is my doubt right now. My doubt is I can't identify what he's actually trying to do, because regardless of who the players are, you can still see what he's trying to do. And then you'll be able to know if certain players are about it or they're not. And then from there, you can take it from there. This player doesn't belong here. That player doesn't belong here. I want this player. I want that player. I want that player. Cool. You go for them. Cool. And then you have a philosophy that you can ride on. I can't, so far, I can't see that with Graham Potter. For me to be able to trust, and I think for anyone to be able to trust an entire process that I would love to ride with for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, the base is, what are you going to do? Show me your plan. And then we go from there. So I'm hoping, bearing in mind the World Cup has come round, that when we get to January or when we resume in December, we start to see something on that level.
Yeah.
And if we don't, then at that point, I think we can turn to Todd Boehly and go, you've made a mistake. You've made a mistake. Because we need to identify a manager that's going to come in with a plan and a way of playing that everyone can understand. And then we can go, you know what? Even if the results don't come, we know what we're trying to do. Let's ride through it. We're going to get there. And I think that's what Arsenal have done. Because even with Arteta, and I see a lot of Arsenal comparisons right now, even with Arteta, despite the bad results, and I think a lot of people saying he might not be fit for the job, you could still see what he was trying to do.
Yeah, you saw.
Right? There was a way of playing that maybe wasn't efficient, but you could see a way of playing. You could see that what he wanted and what he expected from the team, and it just wasn't being delivered up until now. And even now, let me just say this, for people that are getting a little bit too hot over Arsenal right now, you never know. They might still fall off, but they're playing fantastic. So fair play to them, right? But that's the point. So far, we haven't even got that level yet. So for us to be able to go through a process, I would love to see what are we going to ride through that process on. That is it.
With Arsenal, was it 10th, 8th, and 8th finish?
8th and 8th, yeah.
So it was a hard time for them. But let's fast forward to the end of next summer transfer window, right? Let's pretend for a second that we actually got some targets. So, realistic ones that we've been linked to: Romeo Lavia, the DM from Southampton. I think that's a good link to have.
Yeah.
Declan Rice, let's say these two are in. Leao, as he says here, and Nkunku come in. And we've got a backup right back for Reece James. If that happens, my expectations now go from, okay, we need to address the situation. Now the problem's been addressed. I want to see us now go for top 4, regardless of where we finish this season.
Yeah.
That's when I now start to say, you have got the fundamental tools to get us through this season to at least minimum get us top 4 or a trophy and build from there.
Yeah.
Would you accept that? If you knew this season, right, we were going to finish 8th or 9th or whatever, but we were guaranteed to address the key components in our squad, would you accept that to move forward from next season?
100% in terms of making the squad better or well fitted. But again, it goes back to what we are trying to do. And if they fit, that is it. Like, because some players will work under certain managers, and this is what we've had at Chelsea, and this is the point. Some players will work under certain managers and they won't work under others in terms of the way of playing, the system, the positions, etc. Right? So getting players that we know are quality, that are going to come in and fill a purpose, absolutely. That are going to take us to another level, absolutely. Especially in midfield, because let's have it right. We're talking about, Leao and Kunku and all of that. Fair play, but our
The key
midfield
area is
is a
midfield. But
flipping, it's dire right now.
But you see why I don't even mention it like I mentioned these guys is because they've shown us several times at the end of the transfer window and even afterwards that midfield is the priority in the January and the summer. So
I mean, there was talk about Ruben Neves earlier on, wasn't there? I don't know if you saw that, but there was talk about Neves.
I did see that, but the names that I'm really taking seriously as of now are Declan Rice, and because of the obvious links with
Bellingham.
Not even him, and Romeo Lavia. Now you see with Bellingham, what I will say is one, I don't think he comes to us if we don't get top 4. 2, his dad is a diehard Liverpool fan, and 3, Real Madrid are planning to break their balls to sign this guy, and you know how that ends.
Oh, so that's done then.
Yeah, exactly. Now, who I will have some kind of hope in signing now, obviously this is one for the future, and he's not the immediate solution, is Endrick. We're hearing good things in the press about this guy.
Yeah. And again, Madrid and PSG want him, don't they? So,
but we're hearing from several sources that we seem to be the preferred destination. Apparently, he wants to come to the Premier League. Apparently, Chelsea. I don't know what happened behind closed doors, but I know Thiago Silva apparently was involved in the whole induction, the showing round to Endrick's family of Chelsea. And I mean, having the Capitan of Brazil. What more of an advantage do you need to just persuade a young man and say, yo, listen, man, we're building something special here right now. Don't watch the league form, but a couple of years, you're going to be the crown jewel of this thing. If we sign him, this is why, like, long term, I don't worry. I'm willing to accept, and to some, it's mad. I will suffer for the short term, meaning this season. If it means I never have to see this again, but we make improvements going forward.
This is the thing. Where's that guarantee?
We don't know. I can't give you that guarantee.
When you see teams like Newcastle flying in the way that they've flown, or Arsenal all of a sudden get into a position that no one expected, etc. Right? Yeah, there's no guarantee. This is why I'm screaming for a plan. What's the plan? On and off the pitch. This goes for both, right? Well, this goes for the lads, and this goes for Boehly and the recruitment and all of that.
I know, but then if Potter ain't got Kante, he ain't got Reece James available. 2 key components to how we play football. 2 reasons as to why we win stuff. And
understandable. Yeah.
I mean, it's a handicap, man. And this is why I'm saying in January, after the World Cup, all being well, Kante is back, fresh. Reece James is back, fresh.
I hope, but again,
exactly.
We're talking about those 2 lads who, understandably, immense. But is that it for us? If they're not here, we don't play.
This is where we're at. We don't have Younes. We have a choice.
This is how bad it is. Like,
this is the problem. Like, I don't, because people, like, I'm not saying you, but several people are, how can your standards be so low? Nah, you lot are getting confused with, me wanting it to be this way and me understanding that we've got no choice. Everything that I've said has been based on what I think and what I'm seeing coming down the line, not what I want. What I want is for us to be winning titles or competing at the bare minimum every season. I want us to be going to Champions League finals, semi-finals, and these things there. I want the old Chelsea back. But what I understand and what you guys understand is that it takes a certain crop of it takes a certain crop of players and cohesion to make this happen. And right now, when I look at this 25-man squad, and I can only say Thiago Silva, Reece James, and Ngolo Kante, although it remains to be seen how he's going to be after his injury, are the 3 world-class players in this squad. That's not enough to be winning me a title, first and foremost.
No, not at all.
So what does that mean? we have to get rid of the players that are not to the standard, that are not going to be helping us compete. And I know, this is going to take time. Yeah.
100%.
Right now, the immediacy, I get it. We're not seeing any kind of sign or progression in terms of football with this current crop of players. But what I'm also saying is that I've seen this crop of players do it to managers before. I've seen it before. I've seen them do it to Tuchel. We've seen them. We've been sitting here and we've said we think these players have down tools for this manager. There's no need for this performance. It can't be the manager. We've seen it bare times. We've seen them even do it for Lampard, for goodness sake.
This is where it goes back to understanding what needed to be done, understanding exactly what we were trying to do, right? And with the players that we have, despite the names that we just mentioned that are world class, Reece James, Thiago Silva, Ngolo Kante. When we look at let's say a Jorginho, a Kovacic, a Kai Havertz, a Mason Mount, even if we're talking about the guys that have walked in, Sterling, Aubameyang, Ziyech, Pulisic, if I've not mentioned him, they're not utter rubbish.
Yeah, facts.
Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, they are limited in certain aspects and in certain things. We all complain about certain attributes that they don't have and whatnot, and maybe some of us won't have at the club going forward. Facts. But to say that we can't get more than 0.1 on an XG with these lads, or everyone is completely static, or there's no movement when we're trying to progress the ball forward and we have to go backwards. And it's the same for one game, understandable. For 2 games, okay. For 3, for 4, for 5, like, nah, come on, what's going on? Like, it's not normal. This is where I think now it's just gone beyond tactics and the way that we play, for example, during a match day. This is why I'm doubting just what we know, what the lads can bring to the table, what the gaffer is bringing to the table, what the mentality is, what the base foundation of, okay, how are we going to correct what needs to be corrected right now? There's no sign. There's no sign. This is where I'm concerned. Now, if there was a sign, then I'd be like, okay, look, we need to keep it moving. Let's see where this goes. Get to January, bish, bash, bosh. And we still need to do all those things. But we need to have complete faith in what we're trying to do. To go with a process. And just let you know, you're muted, by the way.
I was just making sure you was paying attention to what I was doing over here. Yeah. No, I mean, bro, 100. I've got to agree with that, bro. For 100, there has to be some kind of, well, show me something. I mean, and if we're being real, I've seen glimpses, nowhere near enough, right? If there was one brand that I've seen under Graham Potter that I could say he's trying to get this on a consistent basis, is what we saw against was it Salzburg away? One touch football, understanding your space, moving, beating the press, getting that ball forward.
Yeah, it was Salzburg. Yeah.
That to me, although it was a small glimpse, was what I think the direction this guy's trying to go. Can it be done? 100%. But what do we need to make that happen? What's the first thing that we need to be able to do? Possession retention. Is it only since under Potter we struggle to retain possession? It's not.
No.
So, go on.
Yeah, no, and this is where my concern has come from. The moment each manager's walked in, you immediately get it. And then you make mistakes and then you see glimpses. Sarri was a perfect example. Yeah. You saw glimpses of what he was trying to do. You saw glimpses of what it could be. There were moves that we made for certain goals during quite a few games. And even in the end of the season, we still won the Europa League. Do you know what I mean? Like that is something that you can build on and you move forward with. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what though, bruv? Sarri had Eden Hazard.
I mean, yeah, to be fair, yeah, he did. I know. But my point is about I've been able to identify exactly what we are trying to do from the get-go. even with Lampard, who flopped towards the end, and we were all calling for, well, not all, some people were willing to ride through it. We knew that it wasn't going to be tenable. Thomas Tuchel walked in the first game against Wolves. You knew.
You
exactly
saw the change
what we were
immediately.
About. You saw it.
Yeah.
The mentality is my issue right now. I'm not expecting miracles even tactically, but some sort of kick up the backside, some sort of message straight to the lads, some sort of get some fire going, even during a match day. I will take that for now. Even if we're struggling tactically, I will take that, because I understand tactically you need to be able to build your own team and your own squad, and that comes with time and that comes with a window. But to have some players on board and to have a personality about you and something that people can react to and relate to and that the players can relate to, cool. The truth is, for me, my opinion, I'm not seeing that.
You're not seeing it. Fair enough.
That's my base. My base is that once we get to that base, cool. Okay, from that point, let's start building properly. Let's move it forward. But without that, I can't see a process working.
No, fair. I agree with you. So in terms of, he has to implement something quick and something that's identifiable to the eye, that we can see a bit more consistently. I get it. He's 100% got his pulley socks up, but we are almost coming to an end. But before we do, I just wanted to touch on this comment. Freddie CFC fan says, yeah, but what kind of world-class player would come to this mess of a team that we are now unless we overpay? That ain't happening. Well, here's the thing, Fred. We're in a situation where we're going to have to overpay whether we like it or not.
Overpay, or again, this comes to a point where we've mentioned previous good scouting.
Yeah,
there are good players. A way that Graham Potter can salvage the situation is to get players that are not exactly, tailor-made at the top yet. Those sort of players that were shining little examples, shining little gems at that part of the table, in and around that sort of Brighton side, right? Top talents that you can scout for, not just in this country, but elsewhere at that sort of level, might be able to react to what Potter's trying to do, even, again, if we find out what he's trying to do. But maybe that is a level that he can kick something out or get something going within a squad, perhaps. But ultimately, if we're looking for world class, we need to overpay. 100%.
100%. And Younes, I see the vision though, but it's just not immediate, because with these players that we are targeting, that I'm seeing us like, your Matt Laws, your Simon Phillips, and now are really talking about, I can see how they fit into the squad. Like Romeo Lavia coming into this midfield, I think would fix so many problems. Mm-hmm. So many. But in terms of, first of all, the basics in helping out the defense, but second of all, just picking up the ball in front of that defense, being press resistant, not losing the ball like we used to see in Loftus-Cheek and Jorginho doing, initiating a transition quickly. Yeah, being that point to just transition. I can see him doing that. So with these targets, I'm happy with it. And Romeo Lavia is 18 years old.
Yeah.
He could potentially be a special talent. Outside of him, Declan Rice, we know what he's about. He can play there with his eyes closed. He can play as a box-to-box with his eyes closed. He's a player that is multifaceted in terms of that midfield role. We can do several things. That's my opinion. I can see the vision. When you bring them in, right, that's where the improvement 100% got to come. But David Oladele, thank you for the super chat. I think tactical regression is also present, retaining possession, pressing, beating the press, chance creation also gone. The players are not this bad.
This is what I saw yesterday. I saw against Arsenal. We saw against Brighton even. But it's just player moves forward with the ball, looks for the options. Players are there. They're just standing. When you look at Newcastle, for example, and you see some of the movement that they do, some of those moves that that Newcastle were making, especially on their right-hand side, so our left-hand side, was illegal for us to allow to happen. Illegal. Because it was basic, normal 1-2s. I'm going to move over there. All right, here's the ball. I'm going to move over there. I'm going to give you a sec. And the defender's still not bothered to move at the pace that he's required to move at. It's just, it's little things like, there's zero movement to be able to get a build-up going, to be able to get something going, and nothing's being done to get these lads even moving. Just move.
Yeah, Arsenal was shocking
Sock
because
him.
look, our central midfielders, not a single one coming short to even show for the ball. Now, that's something that you and I know the manager has not instructed. So let's say
No,
the manager.
absolutely. It's not.
This is what
No,
I'm
no
saying.
manager
So
on the planet would.
how is it? What if it's a case where the manager's saying this is what you need to do, but the players are not implementing it? Because when Thiago Silva got the ball, right, the reason why
Yeah.
he made so many mistakes and why he does is because he steps out of that defensive line, right? One, because he's trusted to, because his passing is that good. But two, when he steps forward, nobody's coming to show for the ball. So now he has to reassess the pitch and look at the best option. And by then, 9 times out of 10, your options are closed, your passing lanes are closed, and you've got a man that's pressing you. This is the Premier League.
Yeah.
You can't always beat that press. You're going to get beat once in a while. So these are the things that make me think is it really entirely the manager? Because you can't, I don't know a single manager that will tell players, especially their midfielders, don't show for the ball. Hold your position.
No, completely. But this is where I turn to him during a game and I say, well, tell them. Because I'm not seeing that.
He's just sitting there. Yeah, true.
That's my point.
You make a very good point. You make
That's
you make a good point, man. He needs to fix up tactically. You know, Blue Star FC, big up yourself. Potter's making wrong lineups every week and not doing the right subs in the second half. I agree, and he's got to do better. Some might say he's still getting to know his squad. If that's the case, he's at a place where he's not got time to be learning slowly. He's got to learn it fast. He's got to get it right. Do you know what I mean? Hopefully, well, I was gonna say next game, but World Cup's coming now.
Come on, England.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well, we'll turn to Gareth Southgate now. Oh man.
Should we just do 5 minutes on England and then we'll wrap it up? We'll call it a day.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, this England. First of all, how do you feel about the selection
for England?
Yeah,
mate. I mean, it's not a disaster, but there's some selections that I'm like, what? Like, how's Tomori been left at home? I don't understand.
I don't get it.
And I look at our attack. To be fair, Tammy is a debatable one, but I would probably take Tammy for the sake of it. Sancho's been left. There were moments during the season where you can maybe say why, but overall, I think there's attributes there that we could perhaps use. So yeah, the normal ones are all in the squad. I understand it, but overall, especially in defense, I see Tomori getting left and Maguire is. I've gone past waiting for Maguire to get dropped. I mean, I don't know what to say with that,
bro. For me, it smells like the FA, bruv, are saying that he's got to play, because I can name several centre backs that should be going there over him. 100%. I reckon one is Dan Burn going. I don't think he is, but I think he's been better than Maguire.
Everyone's been better than Maguire. You and me have been better than Maguire, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's bad. I mean, this one as well. You know, no Ivan Toney.
Yeah, that's nuts.
That one was a bit of an eyebrow raiser. Now, here's my thing: is if Harry Kane gets injured, what are the other strikers? We've got Callum Wilson,
Rashford.
And Rashford.
If you can even play him up front, but Rashford.
Now, my thing is that Callum Wilson, I don't think is a bad striker.
Not a bad one at all, yeah.
But my worry is that the guy is so fragile, bruv, that he can just, in training. That's my concern with him, bruv. That's why I felt that Toney would have been a safer bet. But am I going to doubt this guy if he's fit and in front of goal? Nah, I reckon Callum Wilson would do all right, bruv. I respect what the man does. You get me? But it's just his injury proneness. But, bro, I think this Southgate guy being manager is potentially just going to rob this generation of winning anything, bruv. I ain't going to lie. And I feel like we've got a crop of players, especially if not now, definitely by the next World Cup, that should be looking to at least win that or Euros, bruv.
We should. And we perhaps should have done it by now. In terms of the Euros, at least. This England team's so capable. And when you look at who at the World Cup are actually going to be legit threats, bruv, there's not many squads. You can look at Brazil. They look stacked in terms of personality. My goodness, bro. They've got players everywhere, right? So there's that. You can look at Spain, perhaps. France, I'm not waiting on anything. People talking about France, I reckon they can go out the group stage.
Yeah, the way things are in that camp, it's weird, isn't it?
It's not healthy. It's not healthy. Players, individuals, as you know, as single players, they're fantastic. But the squad right now is a mess. The harmony is not there. Deschamps, everyone knows is going. Zidane's probably going to walk in at some point after the World Cup. Everyone knows what's going on. So I'm not expecting much from France. For England, it's a shining opportunity if Southgate does things correctly, which I don't think anyone's expecting. So it's going to be a bit of a madness.
Who's your two favorites before we go?
Brazil. I want to say either Argentina or Spain. I'm torn.
Brazil's definitely one for
But
me.
Brazil definitely there. If I had to put money on a team, I'd probably choose Brazil.
And Argentina, it's them two for me because I feel Argentina are over the park. Because defensively, Argentina, that's where their problem was, and a couple midfielders. But now they seem to have sorted those issues out. They look stronger there. I reckon that, you know, those two look dangerous. I still think we can do something, bro, but I just don't trust my manager. I don't think my manager is, one, brave enough to do what needs to be done, and two, tactically adept enough to deal with some of the managers that he's going to have to come up against. But even still, go on.
I think we'll make it through the group. I hope. If we don't beat Iran, for example, on day one, we might as well go home.
So we got Iran, USA, and
Wales. Derby.
Ooh,
so that's gonna be tough.
Even England, USA, to me, that's a derby, fam. Because considering where I live, yo, that shit's gonna be a derby.
It's gonna be mad for you.
I'm gonna be listen. You see, when we beat them twice, I am going to be a lunatic. But I'll make sure the whole of New York knows that England beat you, man. Yeah, we're repping at all times. But people, thank you very much for joining in. We've got 641 people in the building. Hit that like button, smash that like button, man. I'm sure we can get up to at least 350 likes. That's just above half of you in here. I don't think that's asking too much. So smash that like button. If you are new to the platform, hit that subscribe button as well. We're trying to get to 15k so we can start the road to 20k. Also, as well, if you're watching after the live stream, leave your thoughts down there in the comments as well. Where do you think Chelsea need to improve in terms of moving forward? Is it Graham Potter in for you or Graham Potter out? Has it come to that for you yet or not? Let me know. I'm interested to know your thoughts. Younes, what have you got coming up on your channel, or what have you already got up on your platform?
Nothing today. Unless if I get something out quick. But apart from that, going into tomorrow, probably see what's going on around Chelsea. Might get a couple of videos out to do with Chelsea, and then after that, the focus shifts completely to the World Cup. We get ready for that to start. England content will be on the channel mainly, but I will be doing previews and reviews of each day during the World Cup. So as that starts, I'll still be busy. So yeah, Younes Talks Football is where you can find it all.
No, 100%, bro. And if you listen, man, if you want to do some work together during the World Cup, I am here. I'm available.
100%. Yeah,
it's actually going to be, we're going to have expressions, rants, troops, czar. A whole bunch of people are going to be out here. So it's going to be, I think even, there's somebody else, bruv. Someone else is coming out there. An extra Tottenham fan. Henry's coming out. So
Henry Wright.
Yeah, Henry's coming out as well, man. So we're gonna have quite a few people. The content should be mad. But even during that time, Younes, you already know, brother, I enjoy collaborating with you. Hopefully we can get something done.
100%.
You get me? But people, like I said, smash that subscribe button, like, leave your thoughts down there in the comments, and also hit the notification bell. Me and Younes are out. Stay safe. Up the Chelsea at all times, people.